This time,
The wiring's absolutely butchered.
the team raced to share an iconic rig.
All right, I'll leave you with it.
Thank you.
It's for all of the hard-working men and hard-working women that were up in the Mount Isa and Cloncurry region.
With Australia's trucking legends.
Some of these old guys might even be around next time to even appreciate it, which would be heartbreaking.
Truck scout Jess Edwards braves record floods
There's just so much water around at the moment. I'm really hoping that we can get through this shortcut. Come on.
to deliver an abandoned rig to a high-risk rehab.
Jon's chances of this truck being cheap would be absolutely zero.
And a truck-mad customer
I like to do something that's a little bit different. How much yellow can I have?
Peterbilts don't come in yellow.
leaves no room for manoeuvre.
Dan has tasked us with the near impossible of getting this truck done for Castlemaine.
No ifs or buts, it has to go to Castlemaine.
I'm Jon Kelly, and my entire world is trucks. It's got plenty of horsepower.
We're experts at restoring trucks. That's just how I roll. We buy,
on $100,000.
refurb,
It's a cheap hobby, this trucking.
and flip for profit.
Sold, sold, sold. And I'm yet to find a bucket of bolts in a paddock that we can't turn into treasure.
In this game, no 2 days and no 2 trucks are ever the same.
We don't get too many small jobs here.
It's got an air leak. It should have been fixed first thing.
We're all trucking mad.
We just get it done, and no, it's not an option.
It's good to finally be on the road.
We're building the best truck rehab business in the world.
Whatever the cost.
It seems a slow process doing it all by hand, but I just like to do it by hand so we don't cross-thread anything or rip nut certs out and all that sort of stuff.
At their workshop, restoration specialists Heavy Haulage Assets are setting out to revive a legendary piece of Australian trucking history.
It's not fighting you too much.
No, not too bad, but we still got some more stripping to do.
I was on Facebook and a lady put up they're having a retirement closing down sale. I went out to a property out at Mount Tamborine. In this shed, I spotted this dusty old Superliner and couldn't believe my luck.
Nice.
It's one of my favourite all-time trucks. 1988 Mack Superliner, 500 horsepower V8. I paid $85,000 for this truck, which is a lot of money considering the condition it's in. I've been actively after a 1988 Mack Superliner for the last 10 or 15 years. I actually drove it back to the yard. Couldn't believe it.
The classic US model is highly collectible, but what makes the Superliner iconic is its heritage status on Australian highways.
Gosby and Shanks were a very famous trucking and mining company, and they ran a fleet of Mack Superliners from Cloncurry to Mount Isa of the 70s and 80s and 90s. And every time I went to Mount Isa with my grandfather, we'd see Gosby and Shanks trucks all the time, and they were good-looking trucks. It's a time capsule of my greatest years of trucking with my grandfather, which is really special.
Gosby and Shanks is a really cool old truck. Really old and really worn out. And it's a piece of trucking history.
Recreating a 35-year-old legend is a massive project.
That's the boxes for this. That's only the start of the list of parts.
And the stakes couldn't be higher.
This Gosby and Shanks truck, it's not just for one person. It's for the broader trucking community. It's for all of the hard-working men and hard-working women that were up in the Mount Isa and Cloncurry region. This build has to be ready for the Winton Outback Festival.
Situated in central West Queensland, the Winton Outback Festival is a celebration of frontier Australian life.
The normal town population of just sub 1,000 swells to 15 to 20,000 people. I want to make sure that Gosby and Shanks turns up. This truck is an absolute tribute to my grandfather and that era.
The firm plan to unveil the completed rig in front of a gathering of Australian trucking pioneers in just 3 months' time.
And now we'll take these indicators off.
I think it's going to be the star of the show.
Returning the Superliner to its 1980s glory days will require a one-off paint scheme, a new interior, replacement tanks, tyres and fittings, and a mechanical refit. With original parts at a premium, the mammoth job has a $200,000 rehab budget.
We're going to need to get that tank off.
Yep.
Down the back for the pressure cleaner.
Yep.
Clean that up a bit more.
The firm's Mack specialist, Marshall Watego, will oversee the painstaking restoration.
Did you want to rip these tanks off before it goes to Steve's?
If we can take these tanks off.
Yep. Because we need to make up new crossovers. I can make them up.
I've ordered new tanks for these last week.
Yep.
All right, I'll leave you with it.
Thank you. Oh, museum builds like this are just so hard, you know. You're trying to get all the parts, you know, matching numbers, you know, everything's super rare, super expensive. That just blows out any budget and any timeline that you've got.
As the $200,000 project gets underway, Finance Manager Dave Patullo must count the potential cost.
If we just bought old trucks, did them up and kept them, well, ultimately we'd become a museum. And we are not a museum. As soon as these statement trucks start affecting sales trucks, that's where I draw the line. But until then, I'll let Jon have his fun.
The fact that Winton comes around once every 2 years means if I miss it, you know, some of these old guys might even be around next time to even appreciate it, which would be heartbreaking. Jess, how you going?
Yeah, good. What's up?
In the lush pastures of rural Queensland, the firm's truck scout, Jess Edwards, is set to carry out a rig rescue mission.
Where are you?
A few hours west of Brisbane.
Awesome. I've got a truck up near just west of Billawheeler.
Oh, righto.
So Jon's just called me. He's got a truck coming over from Perth. It hasn't made it all the way to his workshop. It's still quite a few hours away, stuck on the side of the road.
I was hoping that you're not too far away from there and could probably pull a rabbit out of a hat and have it back down to me tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
He needs that truck at his workshop yesterday, of course. Typical Jon.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, cheers.
The truck was abandoned near the town of Billawheeler to avoid record winter storms that swept throughout Queensland.
Across the state, the devastating event is estimated to have cost $7.7 billion in social, financial and economic impacts.
Jeez, there's just so much water around at the moment.
To reach the pickup location, Jess is heading into the heart of the flood zone.
I'm really hoping that we can get through this shortcut. The bridge just up here is the one that I was worried about. It had a heap of water going over it. So I hope it's down far enough now that we can actually get across it. Oh, here comes a moment of truth. Yes! Western Star, here we come. A few days ago, we would have not gotten across here. There would have been way too much water. Still got a full day's drive to get this truck back to Jon. But it's looking a lot more positive right now.
While it may have escaped the flooding,
Who the hell parked it there for the last couple of days? What a dum-dum. Time to hit the road.
the next potential hazard is the truck's condition.
Hopefully she'll start. Come on.
I definitely heard you before I saw you.
I've always wanted a Peterbilt. My obsessions with cars and bikes and all things that have a motor started, I suppose, when I was a kid. My first car was a HZ Holden, and then I did a American school bus. I like to do something that's a little bit different.
In the yard, vintage vehicle fanatic Dan Booby has arrived to inspect a prestige American rig.
This is her.
Pretty tired, isn't it?
It needs some love, mate. But there's no rust or dings or bings. All the stainless is good, the tanks are good, the frame's good. Like, it's a really, really good project kick-off, you know?
I just didn't think they were available in Australia.
This Peterbilt 379 comes equipped with a 550 horsepower Caterpillar engine and a 63-inch stand-up sleeper. While the 30-year-old rig needs restoration, it's one of the most sought-after symbols of classic US trucking.
I mean, I've been scouring for one of these things for about 2 or 3 years.
They're very hard to get hold of.
But while the truck is a premium model, it comes with a drawback for Dan's distinctive marine business.
There's a lot of yellow in my life, John.
Yeah. Peterbilt's come in black, mate.
Black?
Black. Mate, this is the classic look. Black Peterbilts. I took a gamble and bought the truck, so I'm hoping that you can see our vision when we get a deal across the line.
And we can pimp it up a bit.
If you got the money, honey, I got the time.
Right, so we're about 180, then plus fruit.
Plus fruit. Give it a kick in the guts.
I think the moment I fired it up and that cat roared into life, I'm just going, I gotta have this. This has to come home with me. All right. I want it.
It'll be fun. I'll make it fun.
Done.
On top of the $180,000 purchase price, Dan has a $150,000 budget for a period restoration of the Peterbilt. A new paint scheme, a new interior and new fittings will transform the huge investment into a one-off company centrepiece.
Just bought a Peterbilt. Wow, that's crazy. Very, very excited. So I think I'm going to overspend what my budget is.
But the job comes with a catch.
I'm going to be able to tie it in and use it with my business. You know, that's why I want to go to Castlemaine.
Hosted in rural Victoria, the annual Castlemaine Truck Show is just 12 weeks away. As a mobile shop window for Dan's business, the $330,000 truck must be completed in time.
Dan has tasked us with the near impossible of getting this truck done for Castlemaine, but we're going to give it a red hot crack.
There's no lack of will, want, investment to put into this truck. No ifs or buts, it has to go to Castlemaine.
Not the smoking gun.
At the yard, a $200,000 project to recreate an historic mining truck from a rundown Mack Superliner is getting underway.
It's a very important milestone day for the Gosby and Shanks project. We're just about to start the real mechanical teardown of this truck. It's got to go to Stevie Walters. Steve's got to roll the full suspension.
With 40 years of big rig experience, mechanic Steve Walters will oversee the truck's suspension overhaul.
It's a very challenging project. We're working on a truck that's, nearly 35 years old.
Yep, all right. We'll pull the bits, mate, and we'll sort her out.
The fully restored truck is due at the Winton Outback Festival in 10 weeks' time.
Not too many people would even have seen one of these suspensions, let alone work on one of them. They're a little bit ancient.
But for mechanic Dion Brown, the truck's age and condition are a major problem.
That shock absorber might be a little bit past its use by date. It's supposed to be a fair bit of tension on them. As you can see, this one, not quite so much. Pulling all the suspension apart isn't an easy job in itself. Especially a truck this age, it's going to be fairly well grown on there.
I've got a big concern with the suspension. I need that truck done to have any hope whatsoever of getting it to Winton.
To keep the 2-week repair schedule from blowing out, John spent big on new components.
I've got a ute full of parts. I've got a brand new pedestal in the back of the ute. These spring packs aren't that old at the rear, so can we reuse them?
Should be able to, mate, yeah.
I've got a bit of a soft spot for old Mack, so I said I was pretty keen to get stuck into it. Seeing it back to its original glory will be a good thing.
After 2 weeks, installation of the new parts is almost complete.
How's our project going with Mr. Kelly? Our little Mack toy.
Been going pretty good. We've got diffs off the suspension out, and start on the chassis.
I was thinking it was probably going to be 130, 140 hours, but I won't tell John, but we're probably going to be out of this probably in 70 or 80 hours, maybe 90.
But while the schedule is intact, the budget has taken a beating.
I'm not sure what John spent on parts here, but yeah, it would be a considerable amount.
It should be a fairly nice truck when it's finished. I'd say it's going to cost a bit.
Come on.
Outside the town of Billawheeler, Jess Edwards is attempting to recover a $65,000 Western Star 6900 series.
Yes! Oh, what a relief. Gee, she's a rusty old girl. Had a bit of a hard life.
Before she can make the 570-kilometre run to Brisbane, Jess needs to inspect the truck.
The chassis is rusted. I wonder if Jon knows about the chassis rails.
The two steel chassis rails form the truck's spine. If they're compromised, the rig could need massive, costly repairs.
There's a few hisses, but I can't really see. There's a bit of rubbing, just from age and brittle bits and pieces and stuff, but I'm sure it'll make it back all right. It seems to be holding air all right. It's got the usual hisses and knocks as an old truck, but so far so good. I don't know if the gauge isn't working on the fuel or if there's no fuel, so that could be interesting. Time to hit the road. Sounds pretty good.
While the truck is underway,
something doesn't really feel quite right now.
After a few kilometres, there's a problem.
I'm just going to pull in here a sec. Just want to have a little bit of a walk around. That air just doesn't look quite right. Don't have time for this. It just lost a bit of go. The back end just started being a bit rougher. So I can see from here that the airbags are down. So that's not a good sign.
There'll be Superliner people out there that really appreciate what we've done here in terms of putting this back to 100% original.
After a $40,000 suspension overhaul, the Gosby and Shanks Superliner has been given a new $45,000 paint job.
The last 4 weeks have been a big push. We've got the mechanical side of things out of the way. We've had it go through the paint shop and restore the paint and the original stripes back to the original colours. Now it's up to Damo to go and work his magic with his brushes and restore the former glory back to the old original Gosby and Shanks.
Just a few touch-ups here and there and should be ready to hit the Western Highway.
Working by hand, signwriter Damo Gibbs will recreate the signature livery that gave the truck its iconic status.
It's always more pressure when you know that there's not much time between you and getting on that road to head where it's got to go.
Hey!
Hey, fella.
How are we?
All right, how you going?
Fantastic. Coming up good, eh?
Just coming up all right, eh?
Boom. Roll.
Pressure doesn't stop till you see the thing driving out the driveway.
Just exciting. I can't stop looking at it. Only got a couple of days till Winton now, and we're at a critical sort of pivot point where we can't have anything go wrong, otherwise we're just not going to make it. I don't even want to think about that.
Woo! Okay, cool. Back in the shed finally.
The production line this week is really starting, so we've got to really start cranking because time's ticking.
Oh, what have they done there?
The last major task is to rewire the truck's original control panels.
The wiring's absolutely butchered. One of the worst I've ever seen. Wires cut, broken, yeah, you name it.
To complete the job, Marshall will have to source components to fit the 35-year-old American rig.
They're as rare as rocking horse, so if I can't find these in this cab, we ain't going to Winton. Yeah, a bit of a mission to get around here to find everything that we need. If we don't find it, we're in deep. He's going to explode.
Woo! That's beautiful.
The paintwork looks good, rails look good.
At a specialist paint shop, Dan Booby's Peterbilt 379 is emerging from the first stage of its $150,000 makeover. A $45,000 respray.
Time to get it back to the yard and start putting it all back together.
Give it a service, and then we'll start building the cab and the sleeper and make a truck of it.
5 weeks remain to complete the prestige rig in time for its debut at the Castlemaine Truck Show. But at the yard...
I've been chasing these parts flat out for like 3 weeks because I've known that the deadline was coming up.
The truck's rarity is causing logistical nightmares.
It's just the tyranny of distance dealing with Peterbilt trucks in Australia because you just can't get parts.
Shipping times have blown right out. Costs in shipping have just increased like 500%. The pandemic has just added like another layer of complexity in everything that we do.
Faced with a spare parts crisis, the firm have thrown big money at a solution.
We run a dynamic business with tight deadlines. We have to react to these kinds of things quickly. We've invested $150K in a bunch of fabrication machines.
A guillotine, 70-ton press, punch and shears and a bandsaw. And over the back there's got hydraulic rollers, mate. Everything a truck fabricator would want. This is the gear we need to make good with, you know?
Gary's a master fabricator. He's a real asset to this business. But like any craftsman, they need their machinery to do their work. You actually do have to spend money to make money. I just don't like telling John that.
Got to go in and then up vertically for that switch. This is the maiden voyage, mind you.
To meet the rehab deadline, Gary and workshop assistant Isaiah need to get the new production line up and running.
And guess what? It doesn't start. I've got power. I've got no motor going on.
Yeah, I reckon this drum can go in a bit more, Gaz. You've got a big gap over here and then...
Tight here. See if that'll go in. See if it'll push in. Oh, yeah. That might do it.
We got a bit of power here.
Here we go, here we go. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Mate.
How good's that?
Eagle Eye King, they call him.
The King's come again and he's just killed the problem, so...
King's done well there to pick that up. That's got me going, and now he's giving me a hand to roll this up, so that's great.
The first task is to fabricate 2 stainless steel wraps for the Peterbilt 650-litre fuel tanks.
I've cut the stainless, mate. Cut it out. It's going to be a tank wrap.
Oh,
wrap this tank up.
Yep.
And feed it in here. Like so. That's going to determine the radius in the arc.
Gotcha.
The steel roller is able to exert 17 tonnes of pressure, enough to flatten a family car.
I've got this.
You got this side?
Yeah.
Right.
It's going to come, it'll just spit it. Well, I won't spit it out, but you'll feel it come out. If you bring it to me. You all right, mate? Mm-hmm. You've got that, not me. We'll try it on the tank this time, King. Probably, I think that'll do us, you know. Yeah, I reckon that's sweet as, man. Cut it out, rolled it, all in a matter of hours, whereas if you were to order these, you'd be looking, I reckon, a week, 2 weeks. And probably wouldn't be much change out of $1,000. Spending this money on this gear, I reckon it's paid off, you know, and it will pay off.
Our customers aren't going to wait months and months for parts to arrive. We have to make our own and just get it done. Dan Booby's got really deep pockets, but he's also a shrewd customer. I would just really love to get this truck done for him on time, otherwise we may never see him again.
Don't have time for this.
In rural Queensland, Jess Edwards' salvaged Western Star is in trouble.
This hose to the airbags has been rubbing on this little bracket just here. So it's busted a hole in it. So no wonder we're having a few suspension issues. We need to fix that before we continue on.
As an experienced bush mechanic,
Just to make a long day even longer.
Jess is no stranger to making vital repairs on the fly.
So I'm going to cut that and tidy it up. And then I've got some joiners here that I'm going to plug them in. And then I'm just going to zippy tie it up to tidy it up. Test the air, hopefully the airbags fill up again, and we can continue on. I actually thought it wasn't going to start that time. It's happening. Yes, all right, let's go. All right, we've had enough crises for the day, no more please.
After an 8-hour haul, Jess arrives safely at the yard.
Hey Jess, does it drive all right?
Yeah, it actually drives quite smoothly. It needs a fair bit of work.
Geez, they weren't joking about the chassis rails. That's bad.
Yeah.
I bought this truck at what I consider a good price. Fundamentally, that was because the chassis rails were so cactus. Thanks heaps for doing that for me.
Cool, no worries.
All right, take care.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of trucks over the years and I've bought a lot of trucks that need a lot of love, but this truck takes the cake in terms of how bad these chassis rails are. That's the death point of a truck, when the chassis rails are ruined. And this truck is nearly on its deathbed due to the chassis rails.
Saving the Western Star could come at a price. On top of mechanical costs, fittings and cosmetic upgrades, a full chassis rebuild could add as much as $30,000 to the rehab budget, slashing any profit on the truck.
John's just bought an old Heritage Western Star out of Western Australia. We paid 65 grand. I think it's close to being written off. Awesome.
To inspect the corroded chassis rails, John's called in Steve Walters.
Well,
he wasn't telling me lies.
No. Is that double rail all the way through?
Yeah.
The chassis rails have to come in at under 25 grand for this whole deal to work.
John's chances of this truck being cheap would be absolutely zero.
What an absolute disgrace this is. Just trying to find all these parts for the dash, and look, they're as rare as rocking horse. So if I can't find these, we ain't going to Winton.
48 hours remain until the Winton Festival, but the components crisis has turned critical.
You just can't go to Woolworths and buy parts for these trucks.
Yeah, let's go do some robbing.
Really got to go and search high and low, because a lot of the stuff isn't in stock and you've either got to make it or break it or go and rob it off something else.
To solve the problem, Marshall must get creative.
That's good. This is a wreck that John bought. This truck was in Truckin' Life when it was brand new. Unfortunately, it met a nasty ending. Oh, look at that. She's just a gold mine. An absolute gold mine, this bad boy. There's a lot of good parts in this truck. So here we go. We want these screws out of the dash and clips. You know, having wrecks like this up the back that we can lean on to get parts it's invaluable, really. Just some WA dust there. Look at that. Oh! Didn't have the little indicators on the dash panel, so we were missing these. The high beam. I had to go and rob these parts. I've stolen all the original bulb holders so we could make it all look factory again and look like it was in 1988. You know, when you get in this truck, so you turn the key on, you want to hear a buzzer. You want to hear bells ringing for the low oil pressure. It's all part of it, you know. That's what, you know, takes me back when I hear those noises. Like, it takes me back to my childhood. Fire in the hole. Can you hear that, baby? That's the sound of success. We've got our beepers working. For our headlights, and now we've got the little blue light illuminating for the high beam, and it also lights up in the speedo cluster, like it was in 1988. There we go. A fully functioning dash. Finally, it's done. It's been a long road from dragging it out of that shed to get to here right now has just been a monumental task. On this truck, we've done absolutely everything. Every airline, all the wiring, valves, lights, dash. There's nothing on this truck that hasn't been replaced. An absolute high-quality brochure build.
I can't believe it. This backdrop and everything just reminds me of being a kid. I would have been exactly your age when that truck was brand new.
Really?
Yep. Isn't that?
Exactly 9?
Exactly 9. What do you reckon, mate? Looks good?
It's turned out phenomenal.
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 Purchased for $85,000, the 1988 Superliner has undergone a colossal $200,000 rehab, transforming the one-time barn find into a $450,000 museum-worthy masterpiece.
Makes all the hard work worthwhile. I can't believe we're just about to go put it on the trailer. Don't you leave footprints on that floor, Matt.
But the true test for the rig is yet to come when it's unveiled in front of Australia's trucking pioneers at the Winton Festival.
It's going to be a long night tonight and we'll try and get up there this time tomorrow. This truck should ignite a lot of memories. It's a pretty emotional truck and a pretty emotional journey for me, so I hope everyone enjoys it in Winton.
So John's just bought an old Heritage Western Star out of Western Australia. But if it ends up we can't end up fixing the truck, we risk losing a lot of money. It's a big gamble.
The fate of the crippled 6900 series rests on the skills of mechanic Steve Walters.
Steve Walters going to do the rails on this truck. It's a massive job, mate. Huge job to do it. There is no undoing stuff. It's just cut everything out and just start again. Welcome to the world of Uncle Stephen.
You know, as far as I'm concerned, there's two magicians in this world. There's Houdini, and then there's Uncle Steve Walters, and he's going to have to do some absolute magic to get these chassis rails back to roadworthy standard.
It's all looking very ugly. Mate, I'm a bit concerned about that. Seems to be a big misalignment on the chassis rail. Like one side's a lot higher than the other. We need to try and get to the bottom of why that is.
If he's unable to fix it, we're just stuck with an unroadworthy truck and a massive invoice.
This is probably one of the hardest jobs that you do. Not many people will attempt it, mainly because of the age of the thing and the amount of rust in them and the way the bolts are to undo. They're a nightmare. We've had a quick look and this right-hand rail is grown apart right up. So the right-hand rail's definitely got to come out, so yeah, it'll be one rail out at a time. See what we can do with them when we get them out.
2 days later, Steve's team can get a close look at the first 9-metre long rail after carefully removing it from the truck's chassis.
We've just pulled the rail out of this truck, finally, after a lot of mucking about. It looks like the rail's in a fair bit worse condition than what I thought it was, so I'll just give John a call and see what he's got to say. He's not going to be happy, I know.
Hello, Jon Kelly.
Hello, mate. I'm here to tell you, mate, we got some bad news.
The man's on his way. This is storage box become esky. This box is very expensive. On the paintwork, mate. Yep. All sorts of things going on here. We've got the box on, I've got the bonnet on, I've got the doors on, starting to look like a truck. Might keep him happy. Hope so anyway.
The Castlemaine Truck Show is a week away, and work on Dan Booby's Peterbilt 379 has reached fever pitch.
Yep.
But the chronic parts shortage has bitten hard.
We're not finished. He's not going to Castlemaine. Not in this truck, he's not going. We've got it, I reckon, 90% looking like a truck.
Despite setting up their own fabrication unit, the unavailability of rare components has stalled the $150,000 rehab.
It's a nightmare to coordinate and it's a nightmare to have it all come together.
You know, you're going to be disappointed. We're all disappointed. But we'll roll out wash the dust off it, make it presentable. Hopefully Dan will see and be reasonably happy.
But how will their VIP client take the news?
I don't know whether this is going to be a comfortable conversation or an uncomfortable conversation, but the good news is the truck's out of the shed.
Oh, the Peterbilt!
He's arrived.
It's finished! Big black Peterbilt. Mate, how good?
Heaps better than yellow.
Oh, that is fantastic. No windshield?
We actually pushed it out of the shed. So I pushed it out of the shed, gave it a wash and a chamois for you.
Right, so I was turning up to drive it tomorrow. We're a bit short.
We're a little bit short, mate. But I wanted to show you where we're up to and what we've got done and, you know.
Devo, but holy crap, that's a good looking truck.
Over 12 weeks, the Peterbilt has received a premium upgrade package. With the rehab 90% complete, the final push will have to wait for delayed parts to arrive from the US.
Gary and his team and John, they just had everyone going so hard, just pulled up short. Gutted, but that's what happens when you're doing a Peterbilt. You just got to accept that stuff's hard. We've had to get stuff remade from scratch.
Good outcome there. He really liked what he saw, so that was great. Yeah, a little bit of disappointment there, he can't drive it away.
But having promised Dan a Peterbilt for Castlemaine, John has one more surprise.
The best I can do is give you my Peterbilt and you can take that down to Castlemaine.
That works. And you give me that fuel card too, right?
We'll even fill it to the brim.
John's flicked me the keys to his Peterbilt, so I'm going to go thrash that all the way down to Castlemaine. And he's picking up the diesel bill, so win-win, right? That sounds like a mad deal.
Yep.
No, I appreciate you and your team for what you've done.
I think all things considered, Dan took that very well. It's awesome to see him happy with the truck, but I'm sure that when it's done and it's finished, it's going to be a world recognised truck.
This is hard work. This is old school stuff. Not too many people are doing it anymore.
After 3 weeks of intensive labour, repairs on the 2 crippled chassis rails are complete.
97% of people are going to walk away because it's just not going to be able to be registered, so the value of them is virtually nothing. We knew it was going to be a big job when we started it because of the rails, because every bolt that we had done on this we had to cut off. The rails were separated right up to the front. We had to pull the rails out one at a time, clean them up. We replaced the outer part of the rails from about halfway up under the cab. We cut them and the front parts are okay. The back was too badly rusted, so we put new rail in there. Normally this sort of job takes about 30 hours per rail. I think this one was probably about 70 hours per rail.
But while Steve and his team have saved the Western Star, will the cost outweigh the benefit?
I need this to come in at around about that $25,000 mark for it to be on budget for me to still make some money out of this old truck. Hey, Steve.
G'day, John.
What's moved out of the shed, so that's a good sign.
Yeah.
The rails have come up really good, Steve. So are they new rails?
Half new rails, sort of about halfway along the bunk. Inners all the way through.
Yep.
And half outers.
How many million, Steve?
Mate, I haven't done the invoice, so I don't want to shock you today, mate. It's not. I want you to look at it and just take it all in and know in your mind, John, that this is a big job. And when I give you the bill, you won't be so amazed.
So you want me to appreciate it?
Yeah.
As it was, you would take one look at that truck and know for sure that you couldn't get it registered, so it's a bit of a gamble.
24 hours later, the critical invoice has landed.
So I got some bad news, but there is some good news. The bad news is I just got the bill from Stevie Walters and it came in at like 30 grand for the chassis rails, which is probably about 5 grand more than expected. I can't really complain there. But the good news is John's actually out there at the moment chatting to a guy who's been looking for one of these trucks for a while. The best thing that could happen today is that guy just drives out here with that truck and I never see it again.
Just put my name on it, I reckon.
All yours. Thanks Dan.
No, my pleasure, mate.
After a high-risk makeover, the rebuilt Western Star sold for $125,000, leaving the firm with a healthy $20,000 profit.
It's a great outcome for me. I get to see this truck go out and make someone some more money and another truck saved from the scrap heap. These are very familiar territories for me in terms of my childhood. My boys, this is a good connection for them to understand how I was brought up and why I'm wired the way I'm wired.
In the farming township of Winton, the reimagined Gosby & Shanks is ready for its big debut.
A whole heap of dollars and time and hours and effort to get us there, so it's good to see we're nearly there.
Home to just 875 residents, Winton is also a vital stop on the freight route between Brisbane and Darwin.
A lot of people have been in transport out in this region for a long, long time, third and fourth generations, and you know, it's nice that this weekend sort of pays tribute to those guys.
Every 2 years, the area celebrates its frontier heritage at the Winton Outback Festival, as trucking legends gather to share their stories.
Always be thankful for the idea of seeing the country and everything through trucks, you know. There probably wouldn't be a road in Australia that I haven't travelled on since.
I drove road trains, and I was the first lady to take a loaded truck to the wharf, the old iron wharf in Darwin.
Well, here's your paddle wheel guy.
I drove one of those Macks of theirs, and that's why I went into Mack trucks after that. I automatically got converted straight away.
It's been really nice for me and spend time with Josh, as he didn't get a chance to really know his grandfather. And it sort of connects the dots for him and sort of connects me back to my heritage as well a bit, you know.
It's showtime, baby!
Jon Kelly, V8 Mack, very well restored.
Well, I can remember the Gosby & Shanks trucks working in Mount Isa, Cloncurry area for quite a few years ago, and it was great to see that restored to its former glory.
After the parade, Winton's Heritage Truck Museum hosts the festival's awards ceremony.
I really want to thank my trucking friends for those that helped so much over the last few days.
To mark its triumphant return, Gosby & Shanks is awarded top prize.
Very good. I mean, you can't help but be impressed.
I wasn't expecting any prizes or any accolades or recognition. It was just about coming out here and just rubbing shoulders with some good transport folk. And it's a credit to all the guys who worked on Gosby. What a weekend. Totally worth it. Should do this every year.
I loved it. I enjoyed working on it.
Thank you.
No problems at all. No, I really enjoyed working on it. Come on, tuck it out, boy. We love a happy ending.